Spirit Radio Podcasts.
Well, if you have seen the trailer of a new movie for Mum's List, I think it'd be impossible not to be just moved by it. And I think just some of the themes in the trailer will reach out to a lot of people, and it's something that everyone can identify with. It's really a story of love, loss, but there's also hope in there as well. In studio to tell us more about how the film came about in the first place, and it's a very interesting story, and what you can expect when it comes out in cinemas this week. I have the film's executive producer, Derek O'Neill, with me in studio. Good morning, Derek. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Very good.
Okay, so as I said, I watched the trailer this morning, Kate. Definitely made me a little bit watery-eyed of this Monday. But how it came about is quite an interesting one, because when you see this kind of big production, loads of well-known actors in there, you certainly wouldn't think that the whole idea came up over a pint with yourself and another gentleman. Tell us the story.
Effectively, what happened is all of a sudden Rafe Spall and Emilia Fox came on board and played a really powerful part in this movie. And as you were saying about looking at the trailer, it made you a little watery-eyed. The trailer may not be actually the best representation of the movie, because actually the movie is uplifting. It's about how when tragedy visits your life, how you handle it, right? And so when the child, their first child, was 1 year and 8 months old, effectively was diagnosed with cancer, and that he only had 5-6% chance of living. Now, you know, they were effectively told, go home and get ready. But they didn't. What they did is they fought with all their spirit, with all their energy, and they said to the medical community, no, he's not going to die. And they fought. And during this fight, Kate got pregnant again, and during that pregnancy she found a lump, and when the lump was diagnosed, it was cancer. So can you imagine what it's like to have, now you have one child fighting for its life. When she got the news about her having the cancer, she went into spontaneous labour on her second child. So her second child is now premature, fighting for its life. And you have those three things coming together. And this family stayed positive.
And stayed
That's
together.
exactly it. They stayed together and positive, and they used that positivity. And I believe the message of this movie is stay positive, stay in love, and follow your truth.
So it really is an uplifting story. Was that because, I mean, listen, Derek, when it comes to ideas for films, I'm sure there's so many out there. What was it about this story that made you say, I want to get behind this, I want to help make sure that this film actually gets made?
Well, in fact, actually, my own wife died tragically 2 years before Singe's wife died, and it was an absolute miscarriage of medical things, where my wife was brought to a hospital. They said it was a migraine. They wouldn't go against their own judgment about it. And by the time I begged them, and this was on the 4th visit to the hospital, I begged them just to take an x-ray. They took an x-ray and unfortunately discovered she had had a little stroke. She was bleeding into her head, and then 3 days later she was dead. So I know what it's like to lose your rock, your loved one, your breath. And so when me and Singe are sitting together and we're telling our stories to each other, so the two of us were nearly crying in each other's arms, and I said, listen, this movie is going to be made, and I'm looking after your two boys because they need looking after, and I'm going to come up with the money for this movie to be made.
It must have been difficult then, because obviously as you're making it and you're producing it, you not only are you obviously engaging with one person's story, but you're probably going through your own journey as well, given that you'd lost your own wife.
Well, yeah, but you know something, this is more about Singe and his beautiful wife. And even though anybody listening to this who has lost anybody in their life is going to be affected by this movie, but effectively, hopefully the effect that they're going to have is they're going to realise that when SH1T comes to your life, if you go negative, it just gets worse. If you stay positive, if you hold yourself together, you can pull out of it with miraculous results. And of course, the miraculous result was the two boys are still alive. So Singe got those two beautiful beings back, but he had to give up something precious to get those two boys back, and that was his wife, their mother. And you know something, I'm sure herself and my own wife Linda are up there now looking down at Singe and myself going, you go boys, we knew you were good for something.
In terms of the idea behind the film Mum's List,
Yes.
what's the list about? Is it wishes from the mum?
Yes, well basically it was a list that when she realised she mightn't make it, she started to put a list around to Singe through text, through post-its about things she wanted him to do to keep her in the children's life. Like, here's the one that is most moving. Never kiss our children once. You will always kiss them twice, once from you and once from me. Every Wednesday, make sure you eat your orange club milk biscuits looking at the movie and celebrate birthdays big time. So you had a woman who was so aware and so loving and so strong that while she's going through this, all of her focus is on how her spirit is going to stay in that home well.
It is something that kind of takes your breath away. But what about, Derek, for somebody who is thinking of going seeing the film, but maybe that has, I mean, everybody listening has lost somebody,
Yes.
has lost a loved one. Is the aim that it's going to help them, to get them on a journey, to get them thinking, or what are your kind of hopes?
Brilliant. How we're going to help them is, my own qualification is I've been doing workshops in the United States for the past 15 years. I have audiences up to 2,000 people who come to listen to me, talk them through panic attacks, anxiety, phobias, abuse, all sorts of things. So what I did is I created a legacy program, a wellness program off the back of the movie. So effectively, when you see the movie, and if you're affected by the movie, I've trained 60 teachers worldwide who are going to help people get strength and courage for themselves. And by doing that, we are going to raise a lot of money for the likes of the Macmillan Trust and Variety, the Children's Charity of Ireland, and Variety, the Children's Charity of International. And so there's going to be a lot of money, charity money, off the workshops that we're going to do to help people who have this stuff happen to them. So if people wanted it, they can go to mumslistlegacy.com and see what it is we cover in those workshops.
And see what it's all about. So I go to see the film. It's coming out on the 25th of November. What do you think I'm going to feel when I come out, Derek? Or what would you hope?
I think you're going to cry, but I think it's a good cry is a very healing thing
it's
to have.
It's therapeutic, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think then you might actually be interested in saying, do you know what? I think I'll go to one of these workshops and I'm going to deal with what potentially might visit, or do you know what? Just to help ourselves become more confident. And that's why we put the legacy onto the back of the movie.
And as you say, all for a really good cause. Well,
Yes.
it just looks like a fantastic film, I have to say. And it's great that there is Irish involvement in it as well.
Yay, up the dubs.
We're always punching above our weight when it comes to the movie industry. If you've just joined me, I've been talking to Derek O'Neill. He is executive producer of a new film. It's called Mum's List, and it opens in cinemas this Friday. Derek, thank you so much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you very much for your time.